I am saving your life because I don't think you have any idea as to how dirty this gets in the next couple of months.
Today, we have two esteemed experts with us, Jeff Green and Randy Torgerson. These gentlemen have decades of experience in foreign asset identification and recovery. They've worked in dozens and dozens of countries around the world, investigating, locating, and recovering assets for a wide variety of global clients. They typically handle cases $5 million and above. They currently have about $500 million in assets that they're currently recovering. With that being said, I'll transition over to the subject for this morning, which is a Ponzi scheme. What is it, and is it possible that you may be involved in one?
Okay, so is anybody in the room, have they ever been involved in, or are they looking at something that is potentially a Ponzi scheme?
Okay, so we do have a question from someone in the room. They would like to be anonymous.
Okay, could you tell me a little bit about it? And, I'll try and give you some insight.
Here's their situation. They have invested with someone who had a crypto fund. They put in roughly $100,000 and they were promised about 25% interest monthly. The investment seemed to be going well. They were getting their monthly payments along with a spreadsheet. The fund continued to grow and got up to $500,000. All along, they were never given any proof of what they were actually investing in, and no real documentation. After asking some questions, they began to get a little bit uneasy. They started doing a little bit of research, and they found out that the owner of the fund had previously been charged with financial crimes.
Right.
Now they start getting worried, and they have asked for their money back to be taken out of the fund. And they've been given one excuse after another about why that's not possible.
Right.
And they're really concerned. They just want to get out. They want to have a clean exit, and they're not really sure what to do. And they're not even sure if this is really a Ponzi scheme.
Okay. You cannot profit, right, from the criminal gains of a third party. It was actually, Ponzi is an actual human being, and most people don't know that, and it's an English precedent case. But the scheme itself, say for example you get a return, and that return is more than the capital you put into a Ponzi scheme. Anything over and above that you can be disgorged of. You'd have to give back, right? So if you made 1 cent profit, and what it says is, in effect, it becomes a really weird form of money laundering, right? Which means that if if $1 of the funds that you received is from, criminal origins, then the entire fund is considered to be tainted. So the issue that you face now at this moment in time is, it's what you knew or ought to have known. And those words are critical when you are looking at getting yourself out of a Ponzi scheme. I mean, I could give you tons of anecdotal Ponzis that I'm aware of, and people who have, who have been involved in Ponzi schemes and their execution and the criminal prosecution, but that won't help you. What will help you is having people who actually know how to execute this. But the one thing you should be concerned with is failure to make a formal criminal complaint against the individual with what you knew, right, will not bode well for you once a receiver's reported. Because what a receiver will look at is, you got more money than you put in. These people lost this money. I'm going to disgorge you of this money, right, and sue you basically to get it back, so I can make a distribution to all the other victims of this particular scheme. And what I'm going to reaffirm is what you already know. that anybody offering you a 20% return on a monthly basis is a Madoff scheme. On the 14th floor of a building that he had computers with dot matrix printers printing out false share returns and false returns, right, to give to his investors who continued to give him billions and billions of dollars, right? So, and none of the investments were ever made. So what you're talking about is literally a mirror image of that style of scheme. It's not new, it's not original, it's not anything. Ponzi's work on the basis that the small person who screams, eventually they'll give them back their money, right? Because they want to keep the investment and the feeders alive so that they can keep the Ponzi scheme going. There's a case currently in San Diego where somebody claimed to put money with the world's biggest title company. And that title company was supposed to hold the money in escrow, when in fact $300 million was sent to an individual who went gallivanting with other people's money. And she had feeders who were lawyers and banks and God knows what else, because the level of return that she was offering. Subsequently, the SEC stepped in, she confessed to the crime, and then now what the SEC has done is the court have appointed an administrative receiver, and that receiver has then gone about saying to everybody who's been getting interest payments over this particular period, right, give us back the money, right, which is the only thing that the court will award when a criminal prosecution has gone down, right, and none of these people who engage in Ponzi schemes ever look at the consequences, right, the long-term consequences and the devastation that they cause in the manner in which they execute these particular schemes.
So, Jeff, in this particular case, what would you advise this person to do?
Stop everything you're doing and engage somebody who knows what they're doing. Because what it sounds like to me you're doing is you're panicking and you're trying to do what's right, and you don't know what to do. You're just making this up as you go along because of the situation you currently find yourself in. Ponzi is a science by itself. The recovery of Ponzi is something completely different. Ultimately, the creditors of the Ponzi scheme will need to form their own collective or their own administration so that they can all equally share in any recoveries that are made. And what you don't want to do is put yourself in a position where some of your actions can be called into question, right? Because what did you know and what ought you to have known, right, after this thing you suspected strongly that you were engaged in a Ponzi scheme? I'm sure that the moderator of this particular call will be able to, if you contact him afterwards. But I really mean this. If you want to engage an attorney, great. Go ahead and do that. But I would vehemently advise you not to, because they're just going to take a load of money from you, and you're not going to be able to protect yourself in the way that you think you ought to protect yourself. What somebody needs to do for you is sit down with you and go through every aspect of what you knew, when you knew it, do a timeline on this thing, and then give you a strategy to keep. It's more important you stay out of trouble than pay people back. Because if you pay people back and then you get money disgorged from you, you're in a far worse position, and that the money that you've paid them back with can be disgorged from them. Engage professionals who know what to do in terms of Ponzi and who know how to legally protect you, right, from all of the fallout, because this will be invested, this will become a criminal case, right, based on what you're telling me. At the end of this call, go to the moderator, and I'm sure that he'll be able to help you, engage somebody, even if it's just, a few $1,000s to look at the file and give you a written recommendation as to what steps you ought to take. But please, for your own well-being and long-term well-being, don't start selling shit and paying people back money and and failure to properly document and make contemporaneous notes of everything that you're doing, because unfortunately you're going to find yourself in a world of hurt, right, at some point down the road when this guy is ultimately arrested and charged. First, have somebody review your file and then give you a written recommendation. First do this, second do that, third do this, fourth do that, you know what I mean? Fifth, but you need to have that file reviewed. This is a paper review, not a physical review. You don't need anybody to come to your door. You need to copy all the documents to somebody. Right, when you've copied those documents, they will review them, an expert will review them, and then they'll come back to you and say, okay, do this, contact this department, contact that department, contact this individual. You know what I mean? They will lay it all out for you, exactly what needs to be done step by step, right? And then the chips will fall, and the expression is the chips will fall where they may. Well, I promise you, if what you are telling me is accurate, right, then there will be an arrest, there will be a charge, and you'll see it, right? So if you want to research a case that I'm involved in, which is mirror image to the style of Ponzi, look up a woman called Champion Cain, right? Champion Caine. Champion Cain is set in San Diego, and you'll see the nature of what Ponzi schemes are, and you'll see what the government have done. Look up that style of case and then understand what an expert would be able to do for you. It's an expert who would be able to put together that chain that would prevent you from suffering any future consequence or loss.
I'll just throw this out there that it's really important that you don't tip your hand. Don't let anyone know inside that investment what you're doing, because you're just going to make it more difficult for your team to do things to preempt anything and protect you. I have the website on my profile, Apar International. You can fill out the little bar there and make an appointment for a free consultation, and then we can definitely connect you with somebody for sure. Okay, well, thanks everybody for a great show, and we will see you all next week.